I had a very passionate discussion on my radio show today on WWL in New Orleans. Hi, I'm Scoot, and welcome to the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. If you haven't become a subscriber, I hope you will become a subscriber. We'll give you a notice every time we post something. Today was a day that the FBI released new statistics for the year 2020. And the new stats from the FBI show the murder rate went up in 2020 by 29.4%, almost 30%. That is the biggest increase in the murder rate from year to year since they started keeping track of this back in the 1960s. This comes at a time when I'm talking about another bloody weekend in New Orleans. And at the end of a walking parade, there's a shooting. A walking parade on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, a shooting. It's kind of typical. And this is a predominantly black group. Historic. They're marching. There's a shooting. One man dead, one woman critically injured. Also, this comes at a time when we're also learning that 10 people in New Orleans, ranging in age from 18 to 21, were indicted today on charges of killing a 12-year-old girl at a graduation party. She was black. A graduation party. A graduation party. It happens at birthday parties. It happens at anniversary parties. It happens at the end of a parade. This shit has to stop. Two callers on my show today really spoke about the passion. One caller's name was Don. Don has 3 sons. Each of his 3 sons have been shot. They lived, but they've been shot. One of his sons was playing football for a small college in Alabama, was here in New Orleans, trying out for Tulane. He was mistaken walking down the street. Thugs, gang members, whoever the bullshit these people are, they mistook him for somebody else. They shot him. He's partially paralyzed. He's coming back. He's going to be okay. But I don't think he'll be able to play football again. The other 2 sons were involved in an armed robbery. They were the victims of an armed robbery. And one of the sons came to help the other son during the armed robbery, and they both got shot. This is total bullshit. This is from a black father whose 3 black sons have been shot, and none of them were doing a damn thing wrong. And then a guy named Paul called from Houston. His son was gunned down March 14th of this year. He was pumping gas at a gas station in New Orleans. He was killed. His pregnant wife was in the car. She's going to give birth next month. This man broke down and cried on the air. He's a black man. As you can see, I'm a white guy. But what I talk about all the time on my radio show and on social media, these men agree with me on. There's a huge, huge problem that's not being addressed. Black on black crime. In fact, these gentlemen were both telling me that they and their kids, they're afraid of black men. They're not afraid of some white guy down the street. They're afraid of black men. As you know, I moved from downtown New Orleans. I didn't move because the people that were a threat are black. I moved because the people are a friggin' threat. In fact, the agreement that these black gentlemen have with me on what needs to be done demonstrates this is not a racial issue. This is not about race. It's about human behavior. And the dominant community where this human behavior is occurring needs to stand up and change it. We'll all be part of the change. But where are the black leaders like New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, and then our last white mayor, Mayor Mitch Landrieu? Why do these politicians not want to address this? I'll tell you why. And I made this note while I was on the show today. The politicians don't want to address this because it does not benefit them to address the real issue, because they don't want to point their finger at their source of power. It's about power. It's about their source of power. It's about getting elected. That's the bullshit of all this. It's about getting elected. It's not about saving people. It's not about doing what's best for people. Oh, no, we can't touch that topic. I'm not blaming the mayor for this, but I will blame the mayor for not addressing it. Where are the voices? Where are the people addressing the real issue? And do you know what both of these black men agreed with me on? Kids having kids. You know where that comes from? That comes from just random sexual bangings, just banging somebody and walking away. Not even giving a shit whether or not a child is created. No safe sex, just instinctively banging somebody. I mean, how much fun can women even be having out of this? Seriously. It's about the guy banging somebody. And if this sounds crude, it's supposed to sound crude because it is crude. This is not about race. It's about behavior. And these two black gentlemen and many others agree with me. It's about random sex. It's about not giving a damn about children created. It's about kids having kids. Look, there are a lot of factors involved here. But how can a politician, especially a Democrat or a black politician, how can they stand up and address this issue? And then the problem is the Republicans address it, but when they address it, there are too many Republicans who are racist, who address it from the wrong perspective. I'm a registered independent. I'm a radical moderate. Shit's happened to me in my life. I didn't have things handed to me. I didn't have the disadvantages of being black when I grew up. I know that. I recognize that. But if excuses are continually made about the past, then you're never going to move on. And there are too many people who have moved on and are very successful. It's time to talk honestly about this shit. And the politicians don't want to. Because they don't want to point their finger at their source of power. This is pathetic. You can't blame them for the crime, but you can blame them for not speaking out, not addressing the issue. It took a long time for us to get to this point. It's going to take a long time to get out of it. But damn it, we got to start somewhere. It's also about the system of justice. These little thug punks, some of them aren't so little. They don't give a shit. They don't care what happens to them because nothing's going to happen to them. Whatever happens to them is not bad enough to stop them from doing it. One of the gentlemen also brought up that young black males, they don't expect to live past 21. So if your age expectancy is if your life expectancy is 21, why do you give a shit about anything? And this goes back to the community. If there's no hope, if there's no love, if there's no respect, these are all things that are feeding the problem. There have been historical disadvantages for Black Americans. I'm white and I get it. I see it, even though it didn't happen to me directly. But there is a formula for success in life, and it transcends race. And Black leaders that gain power from racial tension are not going to address this stuff because they don't want to lose their source of power. It's sad. It's total bullshit. In fact, Black politicians and Black community leaders are turning their back on Blacks. Who's standing up for the 2 Black men that called my radio show today? The lines were lit for the entire show for 3 hours, from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. All lit. Whites, Blacks, a lot of different comments, a lot of different opinions. But who speaks for that little Black 12-year-old who was killed at a graduation party? Who speaks for her? She's Black. Where are the Black politicians speaking for her? She's dead. A beautiful little 12-year-old girl who I think would be 13 next month is dead because of ignorant crime. It's time to recognize the past to improve the future. But slavery doesn't have a damn thing to do with this. There have been institutional things that have happened, racist things that have happened to Blacks. I get that. It's true. It's sad. I didn't cause it. I would have done everything in my power, if I would have had the power to do it, to stop it. But I didn't have that power. I had to just watch it when I was young. Watch it happen. But don't be shackled by the past. Let's deal with what we have to deal with today. And what we have to deal with today is the reality that Black on Black crime is just something that happens. And the murder rate is up in America nearly 30%, the biggest jump in the history of keeping records of the murder rate. It's not the video games. It's not the music. It's not the movies. It's not the TV shows. One man told me today that young Black guys think it's cool to get shot. And they're not even at all concerned about going to prison, going to jail. That's nothing to them. The man who lost his son says the suspects were out in a couple of days. How do you think that man feels? This guy's crying on the air. He just lost his son. His son was Black. This man's Black. Who is standing up for these Black people? I'd like to think that I'm not the only one. Murders, shooting, like nothing. And the bad people don't shoot each other. If the bad people shot each other, what's the problem? Let them take each other out. The bad people are so freaking bad at shooting, they shoot innocent people. They don't even know how to shoot a fucking gun. And who's dying? More Blacks are dying than whites as a result of this element of lawlessness in America. And lawlessness does transcend racial boundaries. Don't misunderstand me. But the Black on Black crime is too casually accepted. and it's being accepted by the politicians because they're not saying shit about it. So who's going to stand up for who's going to stand up for the black people who are being murdered? Man, I'm a white guy. I don't care if it's a white cop or a black person. I'm standing up for the black people who are being murdered. Are you ready to stand up for them? Thank you for joining me on the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. I hope you become a subscriber. Sometimes I'm not this serious. Sometimes it's not this very passionate message like this. Sometimes we actually have a little fun here on the YouTube channel. You can go back and check some of the videos that I've done, explains really who I am. But I welcome those of you who are new subscribers. I hope you become a subscriber. We'll give you a notice every time we do something new. And please join me on my radio talk show on WWL in New Orleans. You can go to WWL.com and stream the show. Download the app Odyssey, Audacy, or if you're in New Orleans or the Gulf South, tune in to 870 AM or 105.3 FM and pick up the show. And I'm on 1 to 4 Central Time, Monday through Friday in the afternoon. And look, it's politics and pop culture. Usually I'm having fun. I try to avoid talking about shit like this, but, you know, I could not in good conscience avoid really talking about this today. And obviously a lot of people wanted to talk about it because all the lines were lit for the entire show. And if you called in and I didn't get to you, I apologize. I will open the show tomorrow talking about this at least in the first hour. But there are a few other things that we're going to have to get to tomorrow. But I'm not going to let this topic die. And I talk about how sex is the lowest common denominator of this problem. And sex is what nobody wants to address. It is not acceptable to just go around banging people. That is not acceptable. And if just banging people is acceptable, if being shot is cool, if going to jail is a fucking family reunion, if going to jail is not that bad, if it's a badge of honor, if it's not shameful, then there's something wrong with the community within which all of these things are acceptable. Let's figure out how to change this. Shame on us if we don't. Thank you for joining me on the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel.